Hello guys, let's start AWS course. In this video, we are going to learn what is the cloud computing, what's the advantage of the cloud computing, and this is the course designed by me, and it's basically designed for this Architect Associate SAA-C02. And if you just want to follow me on the YouTube, this is my YouTube channel, and that's my LinkedIn profile. You can follow me on YouTube or the LinkedIn. Okay, so let's talk about the what is a cloud computing. So cloud computing is the on-demand delivery of IT resources and applications via the internet with pay-as-you-go pricing, and whether you run applications that share photos to million of mobile users or deliver services that support the critical operations. Uh, of your business, the cloud provides a rapid access to the flexible and low cost IT resources. So with cloud computing, you don't need to make large upfront investment in hardware and spend a lot of time managing that hardware. Instead, you can provision exactly the right type and size of computing resources you need to power your newest bright idea or operate your IT department. With cloud computing, you can access as many resources as you need almost instantly and only pay for what you use. So that's the beauty of the cloud computing. You need to pay only for what you used, and if you don't use, you don't have to pay, and you don't need to worry about your hardware and your the infrastructure cost. So in its simplest form, in the layman terms, the cloud computing, it provides an easy way to access server, storage, databases, and a broad set of application services over the internet within second or within minutes only. And cloud computing providers such as AWS, they own and maintain the network connected hardware required for these application services, while you provision and use what you need for your workload. Yeah. So there are a couple of advantage. You should understand what's the advantages we have to use the cloud computing. So cloud computing introduces a revolutionary shift in how technology is obtained, used, and managed, and in how organization budget and pay for technology services. So with the ability to reconfigure the computing environment quickly to adapt to changing business requirements, organization can optimize the spending, and capacity can be automatically scaled up or down to meet fluctuating usage patterns. So based on if there is suddenly spike into the uses of your application, let's suppose there are some spikes on some particular occasions or some festivals into your websites, there are thousands requested coming to your website, so it's automatically scale up once the request goes down, your infrastructure, your hardware requirement goes down, so as or it's automatically goes down, so you don't need to be pay even for a single minute extra to AWS. Service can be temporarily taken offline or shut down permanently as business demand dictates. In addition, with pay per use billing, AWS cloud services become an operational expense instead of a capital expense. So just keep remember, it's a operational expense instead of the capital expense. You just keep remember. So there are six advantage basically for AWS. So let's talk about what they are. So there are six advantages: variable versus the capital expense. You don't need to be pay for your hardware in front, and so you need to just pay what you are using. And economies of scale, increase speed and agility to give you the hardware resources within second, within minutes, and scale up and down. So there's give you the the agility. It's they give you the options because you don't need to worry about your hardware infrastructure, underlying hardware, or lot of things whether you are going to manage spending a lot of times to manage your infrastructure rather than you should focus only on your business. So they give you the freedom to focus on your business. Stop guessing capacity. Let's suppose I'm just going to start my own company, and even I don't know what capacity I require after 1 year or after 6 months, whether I have if and I'm just going to purchase, let's suppose, the four server, and I don't require them, so I need to manage them. I have to invest upfront all of them, and even I have purchased my server, my infrastructure setup, I cannot go global in a minutes because I need to set up my infrastructure globally, and that's required huge amounts, and of course I don't have. So they also give you the the facilities to go global in a minute. Okay. So the ability to trade, capital expense for the first, the variable versus the capital expenses. So let's begin with the ability to trade the capital expense for variable operational expenses instead of having to invest heavily in your own data center and server before even you don't know how you are going to use them. You can pay only when you consume computing resources and pay only for how much you consume. So that's the benefit of the variable expenses rather than the capital expenses and economies of scales. So this is the the second advantage. So it's the cloud computing is that organization benefits from a massive economies of scale. By using cloud computing, you can achieve a lower variable cost than you would get on your own. And because usage from hundreds of thousands of customers is aggregated in the cloud, providers such as AWS can achieve higher economies of scale, which translate into the lower price. Okay, and the third one is the stop guessing capacity. So when you make a capacity decision prior to deploying an application, you often end up either sitting on expensive ideal resources or dealing with the limited capacity. There could be the both situation, whether you have purchased the extra resources and they are sitting ideal and you are not utilizing them, or you have not purchased the the enough capacity into the hardware resources and you are dealing with your limited capacity in the cap in the capital expenses. So that's the problem, and it's going to be solved by your AWS. Okay, so you don't need to be guessing your capacity whether I'm going to purchase my two hardware, four hardware, or how many hardware resources I require. I don't need to be worry about it. So with the cloud computing, organization can stop guessing about capacity requirements for the infrastructure necessary to meet their business needs. So they can access as much or as little as they need and scale up or down as required with only a few minutes notice. So that's the beauty of this cloud computing, just the few minutes. But in case you have your own data center, it may take 1 month or 2 months to procure your hardware, your required hardware, and that time you are going to lose your business. So that's how you can expedite the the business uh, with the help of AWS cloud computing. And another one that increase speed and agility. And in a cloud computing environment, new IT resources are only the one click away, so which allow organization to reduce the time it take to make those resources available to developers from weeks to just minutes. And this results in dramatic, okay, just from weeks to minutes. So otherwise you may need to wait for a week or even more than week, maybe months you need, because you need to take the approval from top management, then you need to provide justify whether we require this huge the hardware or not. So there are a lot of steps you have to go through. Okay, and so this result in a dramatic increase in speed and agility for the organization, because the cost and time it takes to experiment and develop is significantly lower. Okay, and the fifth one is focus on your business. So you don't need to worry about your the IT infrastructure, where rather you just focus on your business. So cloud computing allow organization to focus on their business priorities instead on the heavy lifting of racking, stacking, and powering the servers. By embracing this paradigm shift, organization can stop spending money on running and maintaining data centers. So you don't need to be worry about to pay money to keep running your own infrastructure, because it's also the very the expensive things in your organization if you are owning your own data center. So this allow the organization to focus their own project that differentiate their business, such as analyzing petabytes of data, delivering video content, building great mobile applications, or even exploring the Mars. Yeah. So, and the fifth one, and this is go global in the minutes. So another advantage of the cloud computing is the ability to go global in minutes. You don't need to be deploy your own data center into the different regions of the world. So and that's the very expensive process to deploy your own data center into one country, then another country, then third country, fourth country. There are a lot of regions, continent, and it's going to be a huge expensive process. So you don't need to worry about, it's already set up by AWS for you. And organization can easily deploy their application to multiple locations around the world with just a few clicks. This allows the organization to provide redundancy across the globe and to deliver low latency and better experience to their customer at minimal cost. So going global used to be something only a few years back, with only the largest enterprise they can afford to do. But now cloud computing, AWS cloud computing, it's democratized this ability and making it possible for any organization. So there are basically two types of the cloud computing, either all in the cloud based applications or your in infrastructure, or the hybrid clouds. All in cloud divided into the two parts: the public cloud, that's and the private cloud. And the private cloud, it's something you have your infrastructure into your company and you are managing them. And the public cloud, something like AWS, Azure, Google, and other. And the hybrid cloud, you have your own infrastructure as well as the cloud based applications. That's something hybrid cloud. So let's move with the AWS fundamental. AWS provides on-demand delivery of IT resources via the internet on a secure cloud services platform, offering compute power, storage, database, content delivery, and other functionality. So which can help your business scale and grow. For example, using AWS resources instead of your own is like purchasing electricity from a power company instead of running your own generator. Okay, so you don't need to purchase the generator, power generator, and to maintain them and use them. Okay, so that's something you need to pay upfront to purchase your generator, and then you have to also invest your money to manage them. But instead of them, use the power purchasing from the electricity company. Okay, so that's the same concept with the cloud computing. And the key advantage of uh, the cloud computing is exactly match your need. You pay only for what you use, and you don't need to pay anything else. If you are not using the resources, you have your resources ideal, it's better just either shut down them. And if you shut down the instance or services, you don't need to pay them. And once you require, you can up and use them. So economies of scale result in lower cost, and the service is provided by a vendor experience in running large scale network. Global infrastructure. AWS serves over 1 million active customers in more than 190 countries. And its global infrastructure is steadily to help organizations achieve lower latency or higher throughput for their business needs. AWS provides a high available technology infrastructure platform with multiple locations worldwide. These locations are composed of regions and availability zone. We will also look into what's the region and what's the availability zone in AWS is. Each region is a separate geographic area. Each region has multiple isolated locations known as the AWS availability zone as well. Okay. So remember, reason have the availability zone, not the availability zone can have the reason, because availability zone is something in the into the metropolitan cities, but region is something the region area. So it's going to be a geographic area, and under the geographic area there could be the multiple availability zones, and they are isolated to each other. Okay, so that's the availability zone. Each region is completely independent and is designed to be completely isolated from the other regions. Each availability zone is also isolated, but the availability zone in a region are connected through the low latency links. And we are going to use the low availability zone for the high availability. Availability zones are typical, the physically separated within a typical metropolitan region and are located in lower risk flood plains. So tips is you can achieve high availability by deploying your application across the multiple availability zone, and it is the recommended you should always deploy your application into the multiple availability zone to and redundant instance for each tier of an application should be placed in distinct availability zone. Okay, let's move with the security and compliance or the security and compliance in AWS. So, security always be a concern is whether your infrastructure, you have your own infrastructure or or you have deploy your application into the AWS. It's always be a concern, and there is always some certain criteria you need to follow and meet them to the compliance, so that your application and your infrastructure will be secure. In the AWS, we have the shared model responsibility. There are few responsibility owned by the AWS, and you need to configure. You need to own few responsibility. So security is a core functional requirement that protects missing critical information from accidental or deliberate theft, leakage, integrity, compromise, and deletions. Okay, so in the security and AWS and its patterns offer hundreds of tools and features to help organization meet their security objectives for visibility, audibility, controllability, and agility. AWS infrastructure has been designed to provide the highest availability while putting a strong safeguard in place regarding customer privacy and safe segregation. When deploying system on the AWS Cloud Computing platform, AWS helps by sharing the security responsibility with the organization. AWS manage the underlying infrastructure, and the organization can secure anything it deploys on AWS. Okay, so the security of the cloud of the infrastructure, that's the responsibility of AWS, and security in the cloud, that's your responsibility. It's not the AWS responsibility. It's not the responsibility how you are configuring your system, whether you are patching or not, how you are encrypting your data. So that's your responsibility, and this affords each organization the flexibility and agility they need in security controls. In the compliance, a customer are responsible for setting up their environment in a secure and controlled manner. So customers also need to maintain adequate governance over their entire IT control environment. So there are tips. Organization retain complete control and ownership over the region in which their data is physically located, allowing them to meet regional compliance and data residencies requirement. So let's see. The following is a partial list of many certification and standard which is already within the AWS, which going to be complies. So there are a couple of certifications here. You can look into it. Okay, so let's see. This is the AWS Cloud Computing platform. They have a enterprise application, platform services, foundation service, and infrastructure. So they have regions. They have a couple of regions worldwide. They have availability zone, content delivery network endpoints or presence to faster delivery your data, your content to the end user, and compute, auto scaling, and load balancing on the foundation services, storage, OBS, object level S3, and the block level as the EBS volume. They have the security and access control, networking. There are a couple of database. They have an analytics applications, application services, deployment management, and the DevOps tool. They have the mobile services. There are a couple of the huge services on the cloud which you can use as per your requirement. So, for the exam essentials, you must understand the global infrastructure. What is the global infrastructure? AWS provides a highly available technology infrastructure platform with multiple locations worldwide. These locations are composed of regions and availability zones. Each region is located in a separate geographic area and has multiple isolated locations, known as the availability zone. As per the AWS, they have currently 24 geographic regions and almost 77 plus the availability zone within the 24 geographic regions. So they have huge number of the availability zones and the 24 geographic regions around the world. and they are providing almost 175 plus the fully featured services from their data center globally, whether you need to deploy your application workload across globe in a single click, or you want to build and deploy specific application closer to your end user. So they have, and they also release the three announced reasons, and you need to have the clear understanding what's the reason is, what's the AWS availability zones are, understand the hybrid deployment. So let's take a look how many availability zones and regions. So they have launched 24 regions. They have 24 regions worldwide right now, and they have launched announced three more regions, and they have almost 77 availability zone worldwide, and they have one local zone, two wavelength zones right now, and they have 2x more regions with multiple availability zone than the next largest cloud providers. So in the each region, you will get 100% two availability zone at least, or in the few regions you may get the multiple availability zone, even the more than two. So that's how it's counted. Okay, so 24 into to 48, and you will get you can see we have the 77. So they have more than two ability zone also in a single region. So based on the the requirements and the content, they are serving 24 to 45 countries and territories served. They have 97 direct connect locations, so that you can direct connect with the AWS from your data center. So we will look into it also, what's the direct connect into our course. And right now they have 216 points of presence, 205 edge locations and 11 edge regional edge cases to expedite and to give the better performance to your applications. Okay guys, thank you.